was not expecting this. I'll just be me, I guess, all I can do.
Oh, are we rolling? Okay. Lola Clayton Johnson. 40 years you've been married to George Clayton Johnson.
45 and 2.5 months.
45 years. Could you tell me how you met George?
Would I tell you, or did I?
Could you? Would you tell us for the video, for your grandchildren and everything? And I want a copy of that.
I don't want to bore you with a blind date.
Uh-oh.
And I was 18, and I was in college, and my sister said to me, I met somebody at work, and he's more your type than mine. He walked her home one night. He called her for a date. She already had a date. They talked me into going out with him. And my sister and my brother, who was 13, that we were babysitting for, because my mother worked late, and my sister's boyfriend and myself went and picked George up. And I was very opposite from my sister, so I thought he'd be disappointed. She was thinner and dimpled and natural curly hair, and I had a weight problem. And he got in the car, and he said, I'm not at all disappointed. You're lovely. And he handed me a flower, and then started quoting me a poem he wrote called Cannibal Lee, based a parody of Annabelle Lee. And I thought this was the weirdest person I had ever met. And it got worse from there. We had my brother, keep in mind. It was a hot summer night, the beginning of the semester in September. I was so nervous, I was paying attention to my sister's boyfriend, talking to him out of nervousness. And George said, are you interested in him? If you're interested in him, you can have any man you wanted. And I wasn't. My sister went with motorcycle riders. My sister was a much rougher type of person than I was. So then we go to the beach, and it's very hot, and George says, do you mind if I go swimming? And I said, of course not, but I didn't know he was going to take off all his clothes and go in the Pacific Ocean en naturel. And my brother's there, and he comes out of the ocean, and my brother lights a flare, and there's George in all his glory. I had never seen a man naked before. I came from a very conservative family. Then he was cold, and he wanted me to cuddle and keep him warm on the way home, and I said, no, nice girls don't kiss and do that on the first date. He said, what the hell kind of a girl are you? It was just a disaster, I thought, this is the weirdest date. And I couldn't stop thinking about him. We took him home, and I couldn't stop thinking about him. And he called the next day, and I was taught never to take last-minute dates. You know, you should always call in advance. It was a Saturday night. I'd gotten home from work. I was going to college and working weekends. And he very casually said, I had nothing better to do. And I thought, if you had nothing better to do, maybe we could go to a movie. And I said, well, all right, I guess so. And I said, well, I'll be ready in about a half hour. It'll take you a while to get here, because he worked downtown. He says, I'm at the corner. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Pretty sure himself, wasn't he? Anyway, just to make a long story shorter, where it really started happening for us was that once I got past all the rules and stuff, we started walking and talking. We had gone downtown to a movie, and we walked for miles just talking about what we wanted out of life. Did we want children if we got married? Not that we were going to get married, but just in general. And then we were by a streetcar stop after we walked miles. There were a lot of old people around. And because I was so uptight the first date, we wouldn't let them kiss or cuddle.
You were still a virgin.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And I was trying to come on very broad-minded the second date, So we're going up the steps of the streetcar surrounded by all these old people, and I'm in front of him, and he asks me, are you a virgin? I say, of course I am. And all these people are looking, Anyway, we got married 2 weeks later to the day after we met. 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later?
Everybody in the world.
Wait a minute, hold on a minute. What happened during those 2 weeks? Did he call you every day?
Yeah, yes. He said to me that if I ever lied to him and ever told him I was washing my hair and couldn't go out with him when I actually had a date with somebody else, it was all over. That what he wanted most was honesty and sincerity. And I looked at him and I said, "You've got the right girl, because I'm tired of these guys that I've been dating, you know." And of course, I was an old maid of 18, you realize, and was getting very worried. But anyway, all of our friends thought we were crazy. My parents were there when we got married, and I got extremely nervous the night before. But he didn't have a job and he didn't have any money. So all we could do was walk and talk, and we talked, and I thought I knew more about him than probably some people know in years, because we did communicate. And I remember on the second date, he found out I liked table tennis. And so he said, "Well, why don't we go to the park?" And so on the second date, I went and met him by the bus because he didn't have a car. And he got off the bus and he came towards me, walking and swinging his arms, wearing a chartreuse jacket and a chartreuse shirt, which now, this was 45 years ago, you know. And I just, my heart sank. There was just something about him. And I liked when he touched me. He said to me one time, he said, "I think it would be awful if you cared for someone or were married to somebody and couldn't stand when they touched you." And when he said it, I went, "Oh no," because we were holding hands, and dropped his hand, and he thought I was reacting just the opposite. I was reacting to the fact that I just tingled all over when he touched me. And when he kissed me, it was like, explosions. But he promised he wouldn't touch me, until we got married, you see. So we had no sex. But he kept moving the wedding date up. We were going to get married Christmas, and they were going to do it Thanksgiving, and then he found out it was my birthday, October 24th. We went down on the 9th to get our license to get married, and he found out that he didn't have to wait. He wanted to get married right then and there. And I said, "Well, we better talk to my parents." So we went home, and we decided we're going to get married the next day, which was the 10th, 2 weeks before my birthday, and my parents about had a heart attack. My dad, when my mother was a very strong, domineering woman, and her and George clashed. He was just too direct, too honest, didn't knuckle under to her. My stepdad, whom I loved greatly, very artistic, very intelligent man, that very close to, loved my mother marrying him, just really loved my stepdad. And when he met George, which was our second date, and I came home, he said, "Didn't I tell you, Lola, that if you were patient and waited long enough, you'd meet somebody who was artistic and intelligent and sensitive?" And I think he kind of knew that there was really something there.
Incredible.
And if it hadn't been for him, I don't think my mother would have gone through with being at the wedding and the whole thing. The night before we got married, they went and got 3 forks, 3 spoons, 3 plates, a couple pots. He had a little place he picked out for when we'd get married, a little apartment that was real darling, and I was still living at home. And we went and got some sheets and some things when he moved in. And then my parents got the forks and knives and spoons. And a lot of our friends made bets that it wouldn't last 6 months. And a lot of them lost money. They didn't think...
But they didn't know, they didn't measure his passion. There was something...
Yeah. Oh, it was a heck of a gamble.
About you that just, it was like he was drawn like a magnet.
We
too.
couldn't have been...
And he wanted to own you and consume you and be with you all the time. That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Well, we went to a USC university. Like I said, he didn't have a job. We didn't have money. And I remember we were at USC. And he was just talking about getting married and wanting children. And I found it refreshing that he wanted children. That was very important to me. And he just kept talking about this and that. And when he got married, and I turned to him and I said, "Are you going to marry me?" He said, "Yes, I probably will."
Wow.
This was about a week after we met. And we couldn't have been more opposite. I was get A's on your report card, be prompt, go to school on time, square, green as grass, naive, virgin. And this
Man of the world, he's been out there. We learned how out there he was. But you were the anchor that he needed.
Well, I got pregnant the 2nd month of marriage, which also horrified people. I was going to college on a scholarship and working in the college library, which was ideal. And I said, "I can't concentrate. I can't stay in school." And they thought I was crazy. I said, "But you don't know the man I'm marrying." I wanted it all. I wanted to be a homemaker, wife, mother, and I just didn't think...
You did it, too.
Yeah, I think very happily. But anyway, we had a baby the first year we were married. And everybody said, oh, you should wait and this and that, and it's awful, but it worked out great. I was very mature for my age. People always thought I was older. When we bought our home and I went and took care of the escrow, she couldn't believe I was like 19 years old. She said, are you kidding? I had a heck of a time getting to movie theaters, you know, the junior price show.
One of the things that Arnold Schwarzenegger said, he was being interviewed by Oprah, and he said,
Yes.
a man takes a chance when he has children because he doesn't know if his lover is going to be a good mother.
And what he said about